Welcome to JMedia 101. I'm Tamara McCullough Short. At a time when black businesses are being pushed to the wayside, we're thrilled to welcome our next guest, Sika Lawson. She's the creator behind the groundbreaking McCullough Marketplace. Think Amazon, but solely for black owned businesses and creatives. She's here to break down what McCullough is, how it came to be, and how her unique background created this marketplace. She'll also discuss its impact on black businesses and creatives. She'll share her vision for the future of this site and so much more. Welcome, Sika. Thank you. Hi, we're here with Sika Lawson. She's the creator of McCullough Workplace of Marketplace. So we're so glad to have you. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, great.
Good.
I first want to get a little bit into your background. You're Togolese Nigerian American, and growing up, you said you felt like you were in two different worlds culturally. So, can you
hmm
speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I think a lot of first gens, we know code switching when it comes culturally speaking. At home, very much ingrained in the culture. But at school, some people wouldn't even know that I'm African unless you see my first name
Right.
or, you may smell a whiff of something,
Right.
a soup or something. I've always just had to balance those two worlds. Like, real as soon as I go through my front door, I am really just immersed in my native culture. So, growing up, there was a lot of. I'm seeing a change now where a lot of Black people communally are coming together. But initially, growing up, I was at the time where they called us African booty scratchers, and
Yeah.
said we're from monkeys and go back to Africa, things like that. So there was a division between myself and some of the other African, first gen African
Right.
kids and the Black Americans, where I know for myself, I didn't always feel accepted. And it wasn't until really, I would say, post college, which seems a little late. I've always had Black American friends, especially when it came to dancing. I was a dancer, so we always,
Okay.
got together for that. But outside of that, there wasn't really much of a relationship. When I got older, is when I really started forming closer bonds, and some of my really good friends being Black American and seeing that there's really nothing else that divides us,
Right.
except when we cross the seas to come
Yeah.
over
Some
here.
more
So,
similarities than differences.
absolutely, yeah.
And so, one thing you did notice about both of the worlds was the economic inequality experienced by Black
Yeah.
and African communities, which really sparked the birth of McCullough, including the name, which has Yoruba roots. So, can you tell us what does that signify? The name?
Yeah. So the name is really important, and it's a name that I believe God gave me and led me to. Makola stands for the child which brings wealth home.
Oh, I love that.
So as I noticed, going especially back home in Lagos, there's a big divide between the haves and the have-nots. You don't see too many middle class.
Right.
And even here in America, we see Black people are the lowest
That's very true.
socioeconomic ladder. So I was like, how is it possible, Black people, we make everything,
Yeah,
we've
so
invented
creative.
everything.
Yeah,
Even
everything.
if they want to throw a different color and name on it,
Right.
we invented it. Our resources from Africa fuels everything from technology to our foods that we eat, resources, things like that. Our bodies physically have built things, especially in this land. So how are we at the lowest socioeconomic ladder
Makes no
compared to
sense.
everybody else?
Yeah.
And on top of that, we're the number one consumers. So everything is within us. So the child brings wealth home means as a Black people, we're coming together and making sure that home is good. Home is us. Home is us as a Black collective nation. So that's the heart and the mission behind Macola, is to really be that bridge for the global Black community via culture and commerce.
That's really powerful. And so, when was Macola created? When did you first have the idea, okay, I need to do this?
Yeah, so that came in 2020.
Okay.
It was a lockdown.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody had time on their hands to
Right.
do nothing and everything at the same
Right.
time. So a lot of people were just getting into hobbies. I found a lot of people making candles, a lot of people making jewelry, and everybody who made something dope, I was like, oh, where can I find you? And everybody was giving me their own website. So it got to a point I had like 15, 20 tabs open on my computer of
Right.
people's different websites. I'm like, I can't be going through
Yes, too
everybody's
much. Yeah,
website.
too much.
I need one place like an Etsy where I can go and know that I'm buying from a black owned business.
Yeah.
So that's where the idea came in 2020 for Macola. Um, and then I started building it. This has been a 5 year journey. I've had three different web development teams I'm working with who
Okay.
each took a year of my life. So it took a while to actually find the right person
So it's
who can
been a
actually
journey.
build it. So we're finally out here, we're launched, and yes, I'm excited about it.
And so, okay, you were talking about was during 2020. It was the pandemic, so timing is
Hmm.
everything. So,
Yes.
what was it like right then and there? You knew, okay, now is the time to launch this thing. I can't wait. Has to be now.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. So it's actually having the platform. So I feel like a lot of my earlier developers, they didn't understand the complexity of building a site like this. People call it a website, and I say that it's a platform. It's so much more than just a website
Right.
because with a website, you can just add a few apps on
That's true.
here, do a couple plugins. This is not that.
No.
And a lot of my developers, I'll call them website designers. They're not even developers because they
Right.
didn't develop nothing. But they thought that they can just put a bunch of plugins and things on there. And that's why at the end of the year for each of them, I didn't even have an MVP or anything to take to
Okay.
market. So with this last team I'm with, yeah, it was a website architect. So he
Okay.
knew the front end and back end coding. So, and I think timing is everything. I can't even take credit for that because I'm just like, I need to get this thing out. But it just happened at the time where DEI rollbacks are coming and they're affecting a lot of black businesses. And we're seeing that we need to have ownership of our own stuff. We
We
can't be
do.
relying on other markets and other storefronts to showcase our products. We have to build that from within. So I think the timing is perfect now. I think people realize that again, we can't just rely on other systems. We have to build things from our own. And as a Black people, we've done this
We
before.
have.
There's things from Black Wall Street. So we've always had an infrastructure and a system that allowed us to thrive. And why not now?
So, what would you say sets Macola apart?
Yeah, I think the big thing compared to a lot of the other platforms in the market is that we're not a directory. So
Okay.
there's a thousand of other directories where they list the black business, and you click on that link, it will take you to their website. Our platform differs in that our sellers are actually creating their own storefront. So you're able to do shopping from multiple different sellers all in one click. So you're
Okay.
not being bounced around different websites. You can complete your shopping experience all on the Macola platform. And another thing that I'm huge on is not just having a place for us to shop, but I'm big on building wealth.
Right.
So for Macola, we have a sister company called Macola Media House,
Okay.
and that's a resource hub. So that teaches our entrepreneurs how to grow their business, scale their business, the tools that they need. And that platform is going to be developed much more to where people can eventually find funding and partners, co-founders, things like that. So I'm really trying to have an infrastructure and ecosystem for Black enterprise so people can not just have a place to
Right.
shop, but also when you make that money as a seller, what are you doing to reinvest that into yourself, your business, and your family for the future? So I think that's the key thing that sets us apart. Another thing is we're global. So again, with the mission, uniting the global Black community, even the logo, which is a square,
Right.
four squares within a circle, that signifies Black people scattered to all the four corners of the world coming together. So that's the symbolism behind the logo. And a lot of other directories focus on US markets, the European markets. We're everywhere.
Everywhere.
So,
I love that. And
yeah.
so, when you first got started and you started telling like family, friends, what was their initial reaction?
I'm one who can think I can do anything and everything.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me nothing, first of
Okay.
all. So I think people thought that it was just one of my other ideas.
Okay. They didn't think it was
And
a
I
big
think
deal.
after continuing to hear me talking about it year one, year two, year three, they're like, oh, okay, she means something with this
Okay.
because I do a lot of different things. I call myself a serial entrepreneur. I've had different businesses. So people, I don't think they understood the gravity of this one for me. And this one, out of all my businesses, is the one that I'm absolutely the most passionate about. I
Okay.
feel like this is my calling, is to be a beacon for Black wealth and to help Black enterprise and businesses grow. So I think they see it differently now. And they're a lot more vested in this one compared to anything else I did. Because they were just like, okay, girl, go sit down and go do something. But now they're like, okay, we see you. So,
Right.
yeah.
And so, okay, speaking of entrepreneurship and like up and coming people, how did you get the word out? How did you let people know, like, hey, I have this? How did you do that?
hmm So that's something that we're still currently doing. I do a lot of email marketing.
Okay.
Social media is there just to have a presence. But the thing that really converts for any business is email marketing. That's the cheapest market. Everybody has an email
Okay.
address. It costs nothing to send an email versus social media. You have to do a lot of paid ads. So I'm finding a lot of success with email marketing, and with that, I've just um, any Black-owned business that I come across that I hear, we put them on a list, a distribution list that we're sending campaign emails out to, inviting them to be on the platform. So that's really how we're getting the word out. Really going to start hitting the publicity hard now that the platform's actually live. I feel like I've been holding my breath for these
Right.
past years. So I'm like, is it actually going to be live this time? So um, now that it is, I'm like, oh, okay, I need to, get up on this marketing piece. But that's the main thing that we're doing.
So once you first got those vendors and you started seeing the sales, what did that feel like for you?
It was encouraging. So even before it actually launched, I go to a lot of vendor markets. That's also another place where I scout for people. And people are always excited saying, we need this. We need a platform like this for us, built by us. And that just kept me going through the years. But just having the vendors, I just felt like a proud mama bear.
Right.
That's it. I'm like, oh, come on in, my little baby. It was really encouraging, and I'm really grateful for these sellers because they're essentially buying into this vision, and they don't know they don't know me yet. As the founder, they don't know that my dedication and my heart towards this. So it's humbling for me, and it's an honor that people see the value in this. The sellers see the value in this, especially that they're putting their businesses on here as well.
So when a seller is interested in joining McCullough, what does that process look like?
Yeah, it's a very easy
Okay.
process.
People
So they
love
can
easy.
go to Macola.com. That's Makollaa.com, two A's at the end. And right at the top, there'll be a button to start selling.
Okay.
So you click that. With the platform, I can be transparent. There's only a 7% commission
Okay.
that is taken from each sale. The sellers, our vision is just really to build Black wealth. We need those dollars in their
That's
hands.
true.
So we want them to have as much of the money as possible so that they can continue creating. And there's no fee to join, no listing fees,
Okay.
like some of our competitors. It's just that flat 7% that the platform retains. And that's pretty much it. Creating your storefront is very easy. It's a guided process. So my background is in UX design, so
Okay.
I made sure that it's extremely user friendly.
It is. I went to it. It's like really immersive. It's friendly. It's warm. It's welcoming. It makes you like want to shop there. I
Good.
love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what were the biggest obstacles you faced when you first started?
I would say I would say probably funding. So this whole project has been self-funded.
Okay.
I've applied for numerous like grants and funding opportunities, and I feel like because I'm focused on our community and I'm unapologetic about that, I
Yeah.
don't blanket it and say Black and brown or BIPOC or anything. I say
Yes.
black,
Yes.
blackety black, and that's not as favorable.
It's
So
not
I
lots
haven't
of
been right.
gatekeeping.
So I haven't been receiving that. So I think funding has been the biggest thing, as many other Black businesses. Funding is our biggest barrier. But how I've overcome, I just keep pushing forward.
Right.
I've learned I've had to develop some of my other businesses that I have, which is basically funding this business for me. So That's how I'm kind of moving around that. And that's why, with the media house especially, once that platform kind of grows wings, we're going to be a source of funding for Black businesses as well, because I know it's such a barrier to get capital.
So, what do you say to those Black businesses, like when they're getting the doors shut in their face, the funding isn't coming? What do you say to them to just keep on keeping going?
Yeah, I would say hold on to your why.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to put it somewhere visible that you see it every single day, hold on to your why, because that's really what's going to carry you. And especially if this is a business that you're passionate about, you're not going to allow one no to deter you.
Right.
You know, I've been hearing no's for 5 years. So just holding on to the bigger picture, surrounding yourself. I think community is huge, something that we don't really tap into, especially as entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurs. We need to be tapping into other people, other entrepreneurs who can also vouch for, hey, I just didn't get this big grant that I was going for. I didn't get this big partnership or anything like that. And just having other people to speak life into you, because it can be discouraging,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're on the road alone. So surrounding yourself by others, just persevering, and just knowing that eventually one door is going to open. It has to. So,
It's always good to
yeah.
have that hope and that faith. And
Hmm.
so, even though you did face those obstacles, obviously you're achieving, you're succeeding. So, when was the moment you knew, like, okay, this is gonna work? I have something here.
Yeah, I would honestly say it was when I didn't do much marketing for the platform, and I was having sellers join.
Oh
And
wow!
then I have one seller on there who has a very big platform on their own. And I'm like, oh, they want to join my little
Right.
thing, my little platform. So when I saw that, that was really encouraging, because I'm like, this huge brand sees the purpose and the mission in having a platform like Macola, that they have they do well on their own website, but that for them to also be on Macola as well, it just that was extremely encouraging for me to know that it doesn't just have to be smaller businesses, but larger businesses as well. Initially, Macola was for small businesses,
Oh, okay.
but now I'm opening it up to any just Black owned business. It has to be Black owned, but just knowing that we all need a platform, and again, especially with all these rollbacks and people being kind of shut out from certain platforms, we need to have a place for us. So that was the biggest, I think, encouraging moment
Right.
for me.
Okay, so let's talk about currently. So, right now, what type of businesses and products do you have for right now?
So right now we have beauty and body care. So we have body butters, candles. We have people who make condiments, so sauces, different sauces. Um, we have eyeglasses. What else? We have so Macola's for anything, so anything and everything legal
Okay,
that people can sell.
that's
They'll
important
be
to
able to
know.
sell right now, and then we have a lot of artists. So we have a lot of people who have custom artwork,
Okay.
custom apparel as well. We have an individual who does board games and things like that. So just a gamut of things.
So, as long as it's legal and Black owned, it's good to go.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yes.
So, about how many sellers would you say you have now?
Sellers that we have on the platform currently is 108. I
Oh,
will
wow.
say that there's a fraction of them who have actually completed the process and loaded their stores.
Okay.
So about a third of them have live stores. So we have people who have products. If they didn't complete everything, like setting up certain payments so that they can receive payments, their products aren't visible.
Oh,
But
okay. That makes
we
sense.
do have 108 registered currently.
And what is the goal? What would you like to have?
The goals. So I actually have a promotion going on now. So I have a promotion for the first 500 sellers. They will be part of the founding collective. That's what we're going to call our
Okay.
founding sellers. And for this group, it's a complimentary group that allows them to have additional resources. We're going to have different workshops and mastermind sessions for them. They're going to have different tools and stack kits so that they can actually scale their business. So this doesn't it's not just a platform where you listed your storefront, but from there we're going to help them actually scale their business further with those resources. So that's for the first 500 sellers. So
Okay.
that's my goal at this moment, is just to get that first 500.
And I noticed that you had a blog where you're focused on like generational wealth tips for Black businesses. So, what made you want to do that as well?
I think that comes from our history. So again, we are the number one consumers, yet we own the least amount of wealth compared to all other ethnic groups. It's common knowledge that within the Black community, the dollar circulates for 6 hours before it moves to another ethnic group. Compare that to the Indian or the Asian community, theirs circulates in their community for 20 days.
Oh, wow.
The Jewish community circulates for about 30 days, and we are 6 hours. So we see that there's a huge leakage in the black dollar and the strength of the black dollar there. We saw historically that when we did shop within ourselves, that we did have some wealth that we were able to pass on to future generations. So I think that's the big goal. Macola is really a platform to help sustain group economics. So people can't say, "Oh, I didn't know where to shop to get that."
Right.
No,
Yeah.
go on
Right.
Macola. So my goal is I would love Macola to be kind of the first thought that comes to mind when anybody wants to shop anything quality and black owned. That's my vision. And with that, why the Resource Hub came is really, again, we have the money, we have the wealth, we have the intellect within us. Let's pass it on to the generation so that each generation isn't reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
So that's where those blogs and those resources come in.
Okay, so it's about empowerment, education. I love that.
Mhm.
And so you kind of touched on this, but given the current landscape, why is it so important to support Black owned businesses?
I think it's important to support Black-owned businesses because, again, our dollar is the strongest economically, and other nations and races see that as well. And if we can have a sound mind, I like to say one band, one sound. If we can have that in our minds and kind of do business with ourselves first, and it's not just to say, even if you're receiving bad service or quality, go with a black business. No, we want to support true businesses that are out here doing good work. That would help us just grow in our businesses. We have the least amount of funding again, and we're also failing at a large rate. So 8 out of 10 black businesses fail with it or shut
Oh,
doors
wow.
completely within the first
I
three
didn't know
years.
that.
So if we can kind of collectively come together, support our businesses, we can see longevity in how our businesses are growing and sustaining. And a lot of our business owners are supporting their local communities as well. They do a lot of community impact and outreach programs and things like that. So it's just going to help us all around when we support our own businesses first.
That's very true. And then speaking specifically to Black women entrepreneurs, okay, how do you balance everything? So you're a mother, you have this
Yeah.
business, multiple businesses. So how do you keep your sanity? How do you juggle everything?
I can say looks can be deceiving
Right.
because Um, I I don't say this proudly. I have terrible sleep. I don't sleep that
I would
much.
imagine.
Caffeine is my best friend. It keeps me through. Me and her are just 5 and 6. So that's how I get through. But also, I think I heard a quote from, I think, Patrick Bet David that said, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person versus asking, somebody who may have a little bit more time on your hands because you know how important time is and you really structure out your day so that you can get things done. So that's really one of the things that I do. My day is structured.
Okay,
I know what I'm going to do
organization.
at every hour. I have a to-do list every single
Oh,
day
wow.
to keep me on track. And I live by like 5 different 6 planners on
Oh,
my desk
goodness.
so that I can keep myself organized. So I think that helps. And you do need to take more self-care. That's what I'm learning. I'm learning, and I need to start implementing it. But I think right now I'm just in grind season, so it's just go, go, go.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
let's touch on the future a little bit. So where do you see Macola by the end of this year?
By the end of this year, so I do have a goal of having at least 100,000 active users,
Okay.
and that's both sellers and shoppers as well. I have 2 target markets. And I just, getting the name out is really big for me. So if we can really get that 100,000 active users, sellers and shoppers collectively, I think that's a huge milestone for me that I'll be reaching. The revenue, whatever revenue comes with that, I'm not big on that. I'm really just big on letting people know that a platform such as Macola exists.
And what about more long term, say the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see?
5 to 10 years, I definitely see us being a contender. I really want to break into the Caribbean and sub-Saharan markets. Currently on like Etsy, for example, if you are a seller in the Caribbean or sub-Saharan Africa, they've boxed them out, so you cannot sell on Etsy.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I can break into those markets, that will be huge. And I know I had a social media coordinator from Jamaica, and she was excited about this because she said, we don't have anything like this. We've been wanting something like this. So that would be big for me. At that point, I would love to have in 3 years 1 million active users on the platform consistently. And I should know revenue numbers. Again, I that's just not my focus, but
Right.
I'll get there. But I'm more concerned about the usage of the platform. I really want people to have Macola come top of mind when buying quality Black-owned products.
And it's such a brilliant idea. You would have thought somebody would have thought of this a long time ago, like somewhere that's convenient and accessible, where it's just black-owned businesses, creative. So this is really
Yeah,
needed in the black marketplace. So
thank you.
I give you
Yeah.
kudos on that. And
Thanks.
so, besides business, where do you see Sika in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Oh gosh. Okay. That's a good question. The next 5, 10 years, I think really being a spokeswoman for building Black wealth. So I would like to be um, doing a lot more speaking engagements about it. I would like to have a lot more workshops and definitely conferences. That's a big thing.
Right.
Even with Nicola, we're going to start having conferences. And the vision with that is not having it just be an online or mobile digital platform, but also taking it into communities as
Okay.
well. We're going to be hosting conferences. We're going to be having different mastermind sessions. Um, so that's for myself, really just being more of a spokeswoman for Black wealth and just helping to advocate for the global Black family and how getting us back to group economics. I think that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And so I wanted to end on this. So, what words of advice do you have for up and coming black female entrepreneurs?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is by Aliko Dangote. He's I believe the richest man in Africa, and he says, "In the journey of entrepreneurship, tenacity of purpose is supreme." So if you don't have purpose, if you don't have joy in what you're doing, it's not going to sustain you through those valley seasons. For Black women, I just want us to hold fast to our visions. We're in a very volatile industry where we're going to hear a lot of no's. That's inevitable. But once you, again, are really set on what you're doing, you know the value that you're going to bring. You have to knock down those doors yourself. And then also, as Black women together, I think we need to do a lot more support of one another. Um, a woman said that, we need to push the elevators down and start to bring our sisters up with us. So people who are climbing in their careers, they're reaching new levels of success. They always have to have a look back behind them and bring their sisters up with them. So that's something that I think that we need. Don't gatekeep information. There's more. There's a wealth of knowledge for
All
everybody.
about sharing.
And when you see, as you sow into others, it's a law. It's a spiritual law. It's going to come back to you. So just be willing to share, willing and eager to help, and other people will help you as well.
That's very poignant advice. And I wanted to end with this. So, if people want to learn more about Macola, speak to you, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah. Well, the website is macola.com. That's makoolaa.com. For me, you can reach me at Macola_official is on all social media
Okay.
channels. So you can reach me there. Um, Email is my first name at macola.com. So feel free to send an email as well. and LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, and we'll definitely add those links and make sure people can reach you. And it was so fantastic to get to talk to you, learn more about you and Macola, the future. So this was really
Thank
great.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right.